A warm welcome to you. I'm so happy you found your way here. New to the channel? Don't be a stranger. Subscribe and share this with someone who'd enjoy it. It helps us grow. Pop your city or country in the comments. I cherish hearing from you. Now let's kick things off. It was a quiet Tuesday evening. I stood at the kitchen counter, rhythmically chopping vegetables for dinner, when my phone vibrated against the granite. The screen lit up with a short message, just one line from Lana, my girlfriend of the last 3 years. Staying at Jason's tonight. Don't wait up. No explanation. No call. Nothing but that. A single sentence that landed like a stone dropped into a still lake, sending slow, deliberate ripples through everything I'd believed to be steady. Jason, the co-worker she always dismissed as harmless. Just a friend. The one who never failed to comment on her posts, who always seemed to have a conveniently timed crisis that required her help after hours. I stared at the message for what felt like minutes, frozen. My thumb hovered over the keyboard, wrestling with dozens of potential replies. I could ask for answers, demand honesty, beg even. But instead, I typed out 5 calm words. Appreciate the heads up, thanks. Then I set the phone aside, turned off the burner. Whatever appetite I'd had was long gone. It wasn't just that message that broke something. The signs had been there for a while. Late nights she couldn't explain. Quick exits for mysterious calls she always took outside. The way her phone suddenly lived face down whenever I entered the room. Her stories had begun to unravel piece by piece. I wanted to believe her. I gave her grace. But this message, that was the boundary, etched in ink. I walked through the apartment slowly, really noticing it for the first time in weeks. What was mine? What wasn't? My name was on the lease. The bills came to my email. I'd paid for every piece of furniture, every appliance, the television. Her presence was mostly visible in clothes, shoes, and scattered decor. I opened my laptop and quietly got to work. I gathered all the essentials, lease agreements, utility bills, renter's insurance, created a folder, saved everything. Then, room by room, I took pictures, documented the layout, what belonged where, emailed it all to myself. It felt like a small act, but it carried weight. Maybe she thought this was some kind of test, a provocation, waiting to see if I'd lash out. But I was already beyond reaction. My decision was made. If she chose Jason's for the night, she could stay there for good. Once that clarity settled in, the next steps came easily. I wasn't furious. I wasn't even heartbroken, not in that moment. I was simply focused, clear. I pulled out a bundle of moving boxes from the closet, leftovers from when I moved in 2 years ago. I unfolded the first, sealed the bottom with tape, and carried it into the bedroom. Her side of the closet was overflowing. Dresses, coats, heels, and labeled bins. I folded each item carefully and stacked them inside. This wasn't revenge. It was resolution. When she returned, there would be no arguments, no questions about what was hers. It would all be ready. Box by box, I moved through the apartment. Her drawer in the bathroom, emptied. Her cosmetics, perfume, curling iron, all wrapped gently. I didn't want to give her a reason to stop by, just to grab one last thing. By the time I finished, it was past 9 p.m. 8 boxes, 2 suitcases, each one sealed, each one photographed with a timestamp. I packed everything into the car. I'd saved Jason's address weeks earlier. Lana once asked me to drop her off there for a supposed team brainstorm. 20 minutes later, I was parked outside his place. As fate would have it, someone exited the building just as I arrived, and I caught the door before it shut. I carried the first load to the 3rd floor, found the right unit, and set the boxes gently outside. Laughter and music leaked from behind the door. Clearly, this wasn't a late work night. I made 2 more trips and stacked the rest, boxes and suitcases, neatly by the wall. Finally, I placed a folded note on top. Lana's belongings. Wishing you both the best, Sean. I snapped one last photo for my records, then turned and walked away. By 10:30, I was back home. By 11 o'clock, the locks were changed. The fallout came quickly. At 11:45, my phone lit up. Lana. I let it ring. She called again, then again. By midnight, 5 missed calls, voicemails, a barrage of texts, desperate and confused. Why is my stuff at Jason's? Sean, please answer. This isn't funny. I sat quietly on the couch, watching the screen flicker, unmoved. Then, at 12:30, the knocking began, hard, insistent, on the front door. The buzzer blared in piercing pulses. Moments later, someone began banging on the door. I stood up, crossed the room, and spoke through the wood. Lana, you told me you'd be staying with Jason tonight. I just helped make that arrangement a little more permanent. Your belongings are at his place now. That's where you need to go. Her reply came sharp and trembling, her voice edged with anger and disbelief. Have you lost it? It was just one night. You can't lock me out like this. You made your choice. I simply honored it. That's not what I meant, and you know it. Open the door, Sean. Right now. I kept my tone calm and steady. No, go to Jason's. That's your place now. Further down the corridor, a door creaked open. Mrs. Alvarez, my elderly neighbor, poked her head out. Everything all right out here? It's after midnight, she called gently. Lana went quiet for a second, realizing we had an audience. Then she snapped again, her anger rekindled. You're causing a scene. Don't you care how this looks? I care about getting some rest in my own home, I replied evenly. Please stop disturbing the neighbors. I turned away, returned to the couch, and silenced my phone. She kept pounding on the door for another 5 minutes before her footsteps finally faded down the hall. At 1:15 a.m., the messages started pouring in. Long ones. Apologies laced with blame, affection tangled up with rage. I didn't reply. By 2:30, the tone shifted. Now it was desperation. I'll sleep outside your door if that's what it takes. At 3 a.m., a call came in from a number I didn't recognize. I answered. Evelyn, her friend, was on the line, sounding concerned. Sean, please talk to her. She's a mess. She didn't mean to hurt you. I let out a breath, tired. She made her bed at Jason's. That's where she lives now. I've made my decision, and I hung up. By 4 a.m., silence settled back over the apartment. When I opened my eyes, sunlight was slicing across the living room. My phone was lit up with over 20 missed calls and a deluge of unread texts. I didn't check them. Just made myself a coffee. At 8:30, another knock. This time it wasn't Lana. It was Mr. Patel, the landlord. He gave me a strained smile. Sean, your girlfriend stopped by the office. Claimed you accidentally locked her out. There was no accident, I said, handing him my copy of the lease. She's not listed. Never has been. He glanced over it, nodding slowly, just making sure. She was very persistent. She wasn't a tenant. She was staying here as a guest. She moved on. I respected that. He let out a soft chuckle. Understood. I'll make a note. She won't be issued a key. Barely 10 minutes passed before my phone rang again. Jason's name lit up the screen. I let it ring twice, then answered. What the hell, man? He snapped. You dumped her stuff at my place in the middle of the night? You invited her over. I just made the move official. That's not how this was supposed to go. We were working on a project. Then you probably won't mind if I send her the messages you sent last night. The ones where you called her gorgeous and asked her to come over? He went silent. I didn't push it. You opened the door, Jason. Now deal with what came through. I ended the call. By 11 a.m., another knock, this time a police officer. Lana was with him, arms crossed tightly across her chest. Sir, the officer began, this woman claims she's been unlawfully evicted. I stepped aside and invited him in. I showed him the lease, the receipt from the locksmith, and finally, the message Lana had sent the night before. I'm staying at Jason's tonight. Don't wait up. His eyebrows rose. He turned to her. Ma'am, it looks like this was voluntary. He packed your things and sent them where you said you'd be. This isn't a criminal matter, it's civil. That's not fair, she snapped. It was a test. I looked directly at her. If you cared about me, you wouldn't be playing games. I'm not someone you test. Her expression faltered. Then she spun around and walked away. By noon, The phone calls started again. First up, Darlene, her mother. Her voice came through loud and angry before I could even say hello. "How dare you throw my daughter out like that?" "She's devastated, Sean. She needed support. You owed her that much." I leaned against the kitchen counter, coffee in hand. "She told me she'd be at Jason's." I just acted accordingly. "Her things are fine. She made her choice." "So one mistake and you throw everything away? You're supposed to stand by her, not punish her." "She wasn't punished, Darlene. She made a decision, and I respected it. There was no lease. She paid no rent. She had no legal rights to the apartment." There was a pause. Then, as expected, the threats began. "She's threatening to sue you." "For what exactly?" I asked. "For carefully boxing up her things and shipping them to the guy she supposedly picked over me?" There was a stretch of silence, no response, just dead air. Then the call dropped. Around 1 in the afternoon, Jason's girlfriend, Hannah, reached out to me directly. She had come across the packages left outside Jason's place and wanted an explanation. Her message came with screenshots, late-night chats between Jason and Lana that made the situation crystal clear. "Thanks for confirming," she wrote. "I already suspected." But that wasn't the end of it. Later, Evelyn, the friend who had taken Lana in after her dramatic exit, called me in private. "Sean, you need to hear this," she said. "Lana's been telling people this was all a test. That she wanted to see if you'd chase after her. She said if you didn't, it meant you never loved her." I let out a dry, humorless laugh. "Well," I said, "then I guess she got her answer." Evelyn hesitated. "She's isolating herself fast. None of the girls are letting her crash anymore. She thought they'd rally behind her. They're not." By late afternoon, things got even messier. HR at Lana's workplace got involved after a client accidentally included a department manager on a long email thread, one that made her late-night collaboration with Jason look more than just professional. Lana called me 3 times, shouting that I had destroyed her career. But the truth was simple. She had done that all by herself. That evening, I got a message from her. "I'll come back if you're willing to talk." I sent one response. "You already did go home, to Jason, remember?" 2 days went by in silence. Then came Saturday. The day was slow, and I had a game on with the volume low when I heard a low engine rumble outside. I glanced out the window. A U-Haul. 5 minutes later, there was a loud knock at the door. I checked the peephole. Lana stood there, flanked by her brother Daniel and her cousin Harris. Daniel was holding a crowbar like it was part of the plan. "Open up!" Lana shouted. "I'm moving back in. You can't keep me out." I stayed quiet behind the door. "You're not coming back, Lana. This isn't your place anymore." Harris moved closer and grabbed the handle. "This is family business," he said. "Let her in." But I'd seen this coming. Instead of answering the door, I dialed the landlord. Mr. Patel arrived within minutes, composed, prepared, and holding a folder in one hand. "This is a civil issue," he said, standing firm. "She no longer has any legal rights to the apartment." When Lana and her entourage tried to force their way in, Mr. Patel stepped forward without flinching. "If there's anything she still needs, it'll have to be arranged through the proper process." No breaking in, no threats. Daniel raised the crowbar in protest. "This is ridiculous." I stepped up to the glass door, phone raised, recording. "The building security already caught you on camera trying to break in," I said. "I'm calling the non-emergency police line for a civil standby." Watching me make the call made Harris pause. "Lana, let's just go. This isn't worth it." 20 minutes later, a police cruiser pulled up. The officer listened to everyone, then turned to Lana. "Do you have any documents proving you live here?" "Mail, a lease, rent payments." She faltered. "My clothes were here. My things." "Your belongings have already been delivered elsewhere," the officer said flatly. "You can't force entry." Her voice wavered. "I don't have anywhere else to go." "That's not his responsibility," the officer replied. Daniel cursed under his breath and motioned for Harris to head back to the truck. They drove off, leaving Lana behind, angry, shaking, and alone on the curb. I went back upstairs without looking back. I said nothing else. But the U-Haul stunt wasn't the end. It was the start of something worse. By Monday morning, my bank alerted me to suspicious activity. Someone had tried to use a deactivated emergency card. An hour later, a credit freeze was triggered. Lana had attempted to open a new account using my information. I filed a report immediately. When I spoke to the detective on the non-emergency line, he didn't sugarcoat anything. "That's identity theft," he said. "Would you like to press charges?" "I'll think about it," I answered, but I kept detailed records of everything. Meanwhile, her job situation deteriorated quickly. HR suspended Jason while they launched a formal investigation. Lana was quietly reassigned to a different department. Word spread fast. Clients had begun complaining. Missed emails, odd working hours, all tied back to those so-called late-night projects. By Wednesday, Jason was officially let go. Lana remained employed, but was effectively benched, reassigned to mandatory compliance courses, a professional demotion she couldn't spin positively no matter how she tried. Later that same day, another message from Evelyn appeared in my inbox. This one came with attachments, screenshots from Lana's private group chat. In them, my girlfriend openly joked with her friends about how she was testing me. According to her, if I didn't react, it would prove I wasn't man enough to hold her attention. She even mocked me, calling me a placeholder until someone better came along. I read through the conversation without a flicker of surprise. There was no sting, just cold confirmation. I hadn't been caught off guard. I had simply seen the truth, clearly and finally. The next morning, I sat across from a family law attorney named Alicia Romero. I handed her a neatly organized binder filled with screenshots, financial records, photos, and receipts. She turned the pages slowly, nodding with quiet approval. "You've already done most of the groundwork," she said with a measured calm. "We'll draft a separation agreement, lay out the financial terms, determine property distribution, and set the rules for communication moving forward. If she oversteps, we take legal action." When Lana received the papers, her reaction was immediate. My phone lit up with message after message, some furious, others pleading. "You're destroying everything. You're supposed to fight for us. You'll see, being alone isn't what you think it is." I didn't answer. There was no need. Everything that mattered had already been put into writing. The rest didn't require words. The power dynamic had shifted. Her rage was directionless. I remained unmoved, grounded. The conclusion came faster than expected. 2 weeks later, Lana agreed to attend a mediation session that Alicia arranged. We met in a neutral office space, sterile and quiet. Her lawyer was seated beside her. Alicia sat next to me. Between us lay a spreadsheet listing the contents of a rented storage unit, receipts for everything boxed up, and the final separation documents. Lana looked altered, diminished somehow. Her posture was caved inward, and dark shadows ringed her eyes. Her voice cracked slightly as she signed the property agreement. "So that's it? You packed away our entire life like it didn't matter?" I answered without raising my voice. "You told me you were living with Jason. I took you at your word." Her attorney handed her the final set of documents. She glanced over them once, then signed. There was no resistance left. As for Jason, he had already slipped away quietly, resigned after HR completed its investigation. Word was, his girlfriend had ended things too. Lana, meanwhile, remained behind in a diminished role, desk-bound, removed from client work, under supervision, her position downgraded and directionless. The fallout had happened all on its own. I hadn't lifted a hand. When the session ended, I walked out of the building, the documents under my arm. For the first time in months, my chest felt light. That night, I stepped back into my apartment, turned the key, and opened the door to stillness. No raised voices. No flood of notifications. No emotional debris. She had treated the entire relationship like some kind of game, a provocation to see how far she could push. But love isn't proven through manipulation or chaos. It reveals itself in steadiness, in quiet loyalty, in choosing to stay present. And when someone shows you where they'd rather be, the only thing left is to help them get there, and not look back. I poured myself a drink, tapped the glass gently on the table, and allowed a faint smile to rise. The space was mine again. And peace had a sound. It was silence.